Okay. Hi, this is Lori.
This is Peter.
This is Hamilton.
And this is Ryan.
And we're with Heroes Character Rental Service. It's Action Heroes LA, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
It was a mess trying to get this going. Action Heroes LA, a subsidiary of Heroes Character Rental Service, doing our latest review. A few weeks late, but we're going to review Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus series that was on in the past, about 2 months?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Continuing the saga of Falcon and Winter Soldier from the Marvel movies, the Avenger movies in particular. So anybody want to start? Care to start? We're basically picking up with Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes and their story going along.
After Endgame.
Right.
After Endgame. Yeah, it says it takes place 6 months after Endgame, and we have Sam Wilson deciding whether to be Captain America or not. Right. And it's just them coming up with the idea when this was announced. It's like, what possibly could they tell about Falcon and Winter Soldier that's going to be at all interesting? Especially when Sam was, handed the shield to Captain America to become the new Captain America. It's like, nobody's going to accept him as Captain America. That's just the way this freaking country is. And of course they did the smart thing that I didn't think of, is that's the storyline.
Right.
Of the show is how can he be Captain America when people will not see a black man as this kind of paragon of American virtue that they're going to tie to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy. So anybody care to start off with any comments about what you felt about the show?
Yeah, I was going to add to what you were saying, Laurie. I totally agree. I know that for a lot of people tuned out because they were turned off early on by what they perceived as social justice warrior messages or whatever of racial justice in America. But actually, I thought it was interesting because of what you just said. They kind of hint early on in like the first episode. They hint at this idea that a black Captain America is not something that would be warmly embraced. And then they don't really get into it for several episodes. So it's not heavy-handed. It's not like the whole story is hinged around this whole notion of trying to push it some kind of social agenda. But it's refreshing because, like Peter and I, when we all watched it together, Laurie, for the first episode, Peter and I were laughing at the end because of the John, what's his name? John Walker character appearing in as Captain America. We were just cracking up.
Yes,
the idea that I can't believe they would do that, but it was, I thought it was.
You couldn't believe the show would do that. But
yeah, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised, but then I didn't expect them to take it any further than like, there's no way they're gonna like really delve into this whole idea of like America rejecting a black Captain America. But then later on in the season, I was really happy when they returned to that whole theme, but I'll let everyone else chime in.
Well, I do want to say, I mean, this show started out with an amazing action scene.
Yeah.
So it was really fantastic. Movie quality. It's kind of surprising this is a TV show. And then we follow along what's happening with Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes after, the events of Endgame. And Bucky's dealing with his trauma of being the Winter Soldier and having killed a lot of people as that and trying to make amends for that. And Sam's struggling with, he has the shield and he doesn't believe anyone will buy him as Captain America, or view him as Captain America. So he hands the shield off to a museum. And of course, at the end of the episode, they take that shield right out of the museum and give it to some white guy white soldier to take over, which is what we laughed about. It's like, of course they're going to do that. If that's what would happen in real life, if this situation presented itself.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I think people who reacted negatively against whatever they perceived as the pushback that came from the viewers, I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the way people feel about Disney right now in general. I don't think it was just this show, because I think this show has a lot of good merits to its credit. I think this show is doing things I haven't really seen being done in television in regards to MCU characters yet. Just like WandaVision, I think this show also is kind of breaking new ground.
I agree.
I'm curious to hear what Peter and Ryan.
Yeah, Peter and Ryan, you guys want to chime in? What you thought about the show?
Ryan?
Okay. Well, I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was very different from WandaVision, which I also loved. It was more of a traditional Marvel series. So much more in line with the Marvel films, with the Avenger films. Very action-packed. But I also felt that the social commentary that was in the series was very timely, given what's happened in this country over the past year. I don't know if that was their intention when they were making the series, but definitely, the time of it in which it occurred just seemed to be that the show came out right at the right time, sort of echoing sort of a larger public sentiment of what was going on in this country. I thought the character of Isaiah Bradley, who I didn't know anything about, I'm more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy, so characters like John Walker and Isaiah Bradley were all new to me. But I thought Isaiah Bradley, especially when he was compared in contrast with Sam Wilson, was a very intriguing character and offered a nice reflection upon looking at sort of race relations within this country over the past maybe 40, 50 years or so. And I thought his character journey of Isaiah Bradley was equally interesting, even though it was a subplot in the larger story. John Walker, I didn't know what to make of him for a while, but I thought he made an interesting antagonist. And, once they get to the moment where he kills that one super soldier with the shield, I don't even know if that was supposed to be decapitation or what. I was just sort of stunned, thinking this is a Disney series, and they went that far with it. So that kind of blew me away. But all in all, I love the show, and they've already announced another Captain America movie, which will follow up on this show, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. One thing, though, I'm thinking that they might have to give Bucky Barnes a new name, since part of this series was he was trying to move on from being the Winter Soldier. So I don't know what they're going to call him, White Wolf or what, like when he was in back in
Wakanda, right?
Yeah. Or some other new hero name maybe. But I would definitely love to see him and Sam Wilson again, the new Captain America, this time on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they've mentioned that this was his transition into White Wolf, but because the focus was on Sam becoming Captain America, they didn't. They have that great title card at the end of the series that says Captain America and Winter Soldier. They didn't want it to be too confusing where they were going, so his additional transition will occur later. I'm guessing, but yeah, that's why they didn't. He did transition into that new character, but they just didn't want to confuse people with the name change yet.
Right.
How about you, Peter?
Well, the first episode I absolutely loved because it was action-packed. I loved everything about it. Then the next one or two, I was just like, wow, I wanted Sam to fly. I wanted to see more of the Falcon flying. But as I actually listened to a lot of the dialogue and what was going on, all of a sudden I was into that. And I just kept going with that story. And I found that the writing of this show just unbelievable, just so good, so tight. Because there's one thing that Marvel has done, Disney has done with the Marvel series, both in movies and in these series, is that you can understand and actually side with both sides. You know who is bad and who is good. And of course, usually you will stand with the good, but the bad guy does have an argument. And it's very enlightening to have something like that. Now, towards the end, I think it's the last 2 or 3 episodes, they became really action packed, and again, that just filled my heart. And then the fight between the inner struggle that Sam was having was really good. You could see Bucky's side of things. You could see John Walker's side. Man, you just wow! I understand and could side with all of these characters. They all seem to have something within their argument that you would disagree with, but you also had that side that you really agreed with. So I just love the show. At the end of Endgames, the movie, I just thought for sure that Sam would then hand off, or even Captain America, after talking to Sam, would end up handing off the shield to Bucky. But he didn't. He did hand it off to Sam, and Sam, like Laurie said, put it in a museum and said, "Okay, no one's going to be Captain America." And then the United States government said, "No, we need one. We're going to have one." And later, with that and with things that were going on within the series, Sam decided, "No, I do want to be Captain America." It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter my color or anything like that. And then the little things that Disney touched on within the series towards the end, I was just enthralled. I just loved the whole series from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to give Disney too much credit.
Yeah, you said Disney. I was thinking Marvel.
Well, they did. They did greenlight this and did not mess with the storyline. I do want to bring up the main showrunner and creator of the show is Malcolm Spellman. And can you get that's one of those black man names. If there ever is one, that's one of those names. It's like,
wait a minute,
I cannot see a white man named Malcolm Spellman. I just cannot. So
it could happen.
But he is a black guy. Okay. He created this show. He wrote some of the episodes, and of course, he's guiding so him examining a lot of things. What this series, and Marvel does this great, is they like to explore consequences of the superhero actions, in particular. They're exploring what happened after the blip, after people disappeared and then 5 years later showed up again. What happened to all the people who prospered during that time period? They moved into different, people who are gone, the people who remain moved into these apartments, into jobs and things. And when the people came back, what happens to these people who had this new life and now have to be displaced? And that's what the displaced by, all these returning people from the blip, and that's what the bad guys of this story, the Flag Smashers, are fighting against. As they're being displaced, they're now refugees. They got to live this good life for 5 years, and now it's like, all right, you got to go back to wherever you came from. And so, like you said, you understood their why they were upset, what their motivation was. You bringing in the John Walker character, who is played by, I want to mention, Wyatt Russell, who is the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Interesting enough. So
right, he looks just like Kurt Russell.
Yeah, and he was great in this, and even he has layers. He has, he comes in, he's the blonde-haired, blue-eye, they pick him when Sam gives up the shield to become the new Captain America, and he's the one that most people expect, but he doesn't really have the temperament of Captain America that we have expected of Steve Rogers. So he's got some anger issues, and he's a soldier who's been awarded. He's been, for his heroic deeds, but what he and his partner know is like, those deeds, they did some pretty nasty stuff in the name of war to get those accolades and awards. So there's consequences you have Sharon Carter in this. So it was nice to see her return, and she's on the lam. She doesn't get, like Bucky and Sam get pardoned, but she doesn't. So she's, what happens to an agent who gives everything for the country, only for the country to screw over? And we get her storyline. We get some people from Wakanda in this. We get touch base with Wakanda, and we have Zemo, who's returning into this. So I barely remember because all the Marvel movies kind of smashed together. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He was the guy that killed T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, right? And impersonating the Winter Soldier and impersonating Bucky. And so, I mean, it's great storyline. And the whole telling of the story, they even go back to the Isaiah Bradley character, who's played by Carl Lumbly, who's been in a lot of TV shows. But he was after Steve Rogers, apparently the government were experimenting on black soldiers to make another Captain America, but they couldn't get the serum just right, except for some reason it worked on this black guy. But they pretty much experimented the hell out of him. So he's very bitter and angry, and as expected. Plus, on top of that, he's a black man in America, so there's those layers of bitter and angry. And it's a nice contrast to see his attitude versus Sam's. And it's like Sam, it's everything is kind of like this gray area. You can see everybody's motivation is like, well, yeah, I'd be pissed off too, but are you going to handle it from a good heart, or are you going to handle it from a bitter or mad or pissed off perspective? So.
Right.
There's a lot, really, really great series that I'm impressed. I mean, I'm almost more impressed with these series than I am with Marvel movies, because in the movie you can only pack so much, and they're trying to do so many characters at the same time. It's nice to get some time with just these even smaller characters, or any character that they can develop and give their storyline to. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. You got, just to add to what you're saying, Laurie, there's also the sidekick to the John Walker,
right,
American character, Battlestar. What's his name? Lamar. Yeah, and I thought that was interesting because that's traditionally the way I think comic books have portrayed heroes in the past. Like you have the white hero with the black sidekick or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they I think they put this character in. I mean, first of all, that stuff is taken from the comics apparently. But
yeah,
I thought it was interesting also because it shows a contrast to what eventually happens when Sam takes over the mantle of Captain
America, and he has a white sidekick, and
yeah.
It kind of flips that around.
What was the main villain's name? I forgot her name.
Her name was
Morgenthau.
Yeah, Kari Morgan.
That doesn't sound like a villain's name to me, but hey, I'll run with it. But I liked. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think in the comic books I read that the traditional villain, was a guy named Carl Morgenthau. So it's a little gender switch here.
Right. I thought it was interesting that they chose an obviously mixed black female to play that role because she kind of represents like the hero for the everyman. Like she's like, even though she's quote unquote like a villain, like Peter said, you understand her motivations. You understand the motivations of the so-called villains in this series, and she's a good front person for that because they're supposedly fighting to liberate people in society or whatever. So I thought that was interesting. I'm
having a little technical difficulties here. I don't know why the computer screen went blank on me.
So, I see you all on my end.
Yeah, I mean, it still says I'm recording here, but I can't see my screen. So I guess we can just keep going. I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Just keep going, and then I guess if it doesn't come through, we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah,
so that's really weird, but yeah. Anyway,
but like you guys are saying, like honestly, at the end of Endgame, when Captain America gave the shield to Sam, I just assumed, okay, now he's going to be Captain America. I didn't think about what that entailed. I didn't think about even the idea maybe he didn't want to be Captain America. So I just think this series, it's just breaking so much ground, like doing things that I want to see more of. Like I think a lot of people had issue with the idea of them exploring social issues. I want to see them explore more social issues. If they do it in the right context and they still tell a good story, I don't have a problem with it. Personally, I don't feel like any agendas were being shoved down my throat personally as a viewer of this show. And I mean, that's coming from someone who has a lot of issues with Lucasfilm and their handling of Star Wars. So, I'm really happy to see that Marvel is still, they still represent what's possible for Disney produced content. Like I think what they're doing is excellent. Same with WandaVision. WandaVision was great. Like you said, Ryan, it's totally different, but I like the fact that they're coming out with all these different shows and they're all different and interesting. But I don't want to. I'll let everyone else.
Anybody else got anything to add to this? I
agree with all of you about Carly, about how the show, tried to not have her be a two-dimensional character, to try to look at things from her point of view. Speaking of Star Wars, the first thing I thought is when I saw her.
Oh, she's
who played Memphis Nest. So I couldn't stop thinking of that. It took me a while to get sort of used to her in this role. But yeah, it was interesting trying to see things from her point of view. I thought it was also interesting that we see Sam Wilson, I think it's in the second to last episode, trying to work with her because he had that background working with, I guess, soldiers coming back from war, which was something I had totally forgotten about when he was first introduced in the movie, The Winter Soldier, which I saw recently on TV, and I had totally forgotten about that background. But I was glad that the TV series went back to the character's roots in the MCU and still was applying it to his storyline now. I also agree with Ham about, at the end of Endgame, I didn't think that they would explore much of Sam's decision or indecision. what it would entail if he was to become Captain America. I thought, well, he's given the shield and that was it. But I thought this show did an excellent job of exploring the different issues he was wrestling with. And at the same time, doing the same thing with Bucky to look at the fallout of all the struggles he's had as the Winter Soldier, all the people that he killed. And I thought it was also nice that Sam sort of addressed him at the end, because Bucky has his scars and Sam has that background. So I just thought on all facets, this show was just excellent, firing on all cylinders from every side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does a great job of like taking Sam from all of us that perspective. It's like no way anybody's gonna accept him as Captain America, and having his journey to like he's ready, and you understand why he needs to be Captain America by the end of this series, and you understand he knows as well as we is like some people are still going to have a problem with it, but I think this show does a lot to help a lot of people accept it, and right. and it pretty much announces going forward is like whether you like it or not, he's Captain America.
Right.
And we know why you might not like it, and it's tough. And we know the difficulties of accepting a character. How about let's talk about the costume? Because Peter, you mentioned the final costume that Sam shows up in at the end of the series in the final as his Captain America self.
Well,
his new Captain America costume.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes from my childhood, and that I've been just indoctrinated that I want there to be a Falcon. I want there to be a Captain America. I don't want them to be the same person.
Oh, you don't?
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It's almost too similar to the Falcon character's costume. It's too much of a...
I want them to be two different heroes. I did notice that, which I loved, Falcon's wings are very mechanical, although they do look bird-like. They are very mechanical and very cool. As Captain America was flying in with Kari in his arms, the wings were very angelic or angel-like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't pleased with that at all.
Okay. It's too like, on the nose of him as like a savior kind of
right.
good guy thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Too much. I agree. Peter, I wanted to... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that although it is in the comic strip, and that's what I think they were going for, I did not like the white mask on his face.
Yeah.
With the open ears and all of that stuff. I was just like, that's just a bit too on the nose for me. That's as a flying outfit, I just didn't buy it.
I totally agree. I
understood it. I just didn't buy it.
I felt the same way. I wanted to add to what you're saying. In the comic book, apparently Joaquin Torres becomes the Falcon, and I was kind of waiting for him to show up. I was disappointed when they didn't bring his character.
Yeah, you kept mentioning that because they kind of implied it by giving him the old set of wings too.
Yeah, right. I thought for sure he was going to show up, and that would be awesome. And then, like you said, it was like I want to see Captain America. I don't want to see Captain America melded with the Falcon. I mean, what's the point in passing that mantle onto another character if you're going to just have two characters that are basically the Falcon almost? Captain
Falcon, come on.
Yeah. I don't like the costume either. I don't like white. I don't know why they put him in a white costume. It's just kind of like whatever. Like you say on the nose, I just thought I was expecting more like a blue, some kind of variation on the blue costume that we're familiar with. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's like small potatoes for other people. But yeah, like you want them to get those kind of details right. But yeah, I felt the same way. I totally agree.
Ryan, did you have any opinion on the costume, or didn't matter to you either way?
Well, I didn't have much issue with it. As far as I could tell, at least from what I saw online, it was pretty reflective of the costume that was in the comics when Sam Wilson was Captain America. So it looked like they were trying to make it comics accurate. The only thing that jumped out at me was that his head was unprotected. You know, so I'm like, his brain is exposed. That's the most sensitive part. You would think, like the previous Captain America, Steve had a helmet on purposely to protect him. Even John Walker did. So I would have thought some kind of helmet, but other than that, I wasn't really bothered by the costume too much. I thought it was interesting what Peter said about that angel imagery. That had never occurred to me. But it makes sense that might have been what they were going for when he was holding Carly's body. But it also occurred to me that's kind of a reverse Pieta image, like of Mary holding the body of Jesus.
Jesus, right, off the cross. Right.
Holding the body of Carly.
All right.
So I don't know. That just came to mind when you brought up the angel imagery. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but just something that came to mind.
I might slight differ on the costume issue. I like that he came out merged as Falcon and Captain America at the end, that he didn't lose what he was before, and, you know, kind of merging into this new character. You know, I thought the wings looked cool. But I'm with you. And I like that kind of, because the white is kind of a reference to the Falcon costume from the comic books. Right. Like I said, there's reference to so I was like, I appreciated that, but then I didn't exactly like the look of it either. I didn't like the white around his face either. I just, you know, I hope they get rid of that. And I kind of thought, I thought of it in terms of finally got a black Captain America and they have to make half his face white again. so I
he's in white face or whatever,
you know,
instead of black face.
Part of the Falcon costume from before, but yeah, I kind of hope they do change it going forward. If they're supposed to do a Captain America 4 movie, so I hope they tweak it, because they've tweaked Captain America's costumes throughout the movies. You know, right. Starting with the traditional when he had the wings on his when he didn't have the helmet and everything, which is one of the things I really liked about kind of the Captain America and the MCU films and stuff. They constantly upgraded his costume, you know. So
well, one thing they didn't change, and that was actually a good thing, because that is America's ass.
Well, America got more ass now.
A little more ass. I was gonna add also, y'all. I liked how they emphasized like the Dora Milaje, like Wakanda's input into him becoming Captain America. Like they were mad that that America was promoting another white Captain America, and I think they were pushing for Sam to become Captain America. They mentioned that.
Or was because they were more involved with the Bucky Barnes storyline, though, because he broke Zemo out of jail. We haven't talked much about Zemo, but because they kind of helped them out.
I think there's a line. I would have to go back and watch the last few episodes, but I think there's a line about they wanted him to be Captain America. Something about he said, or someone said something about.
I know Bucky was very much pissed off at Sam for giving up the shield. He's like, you know, he's like, Steve gave that to you. You know?
Right. And also, I wanted to mention about Bucky. I really feel like from the movies to this series, I feel like Bucky is coming to his own. The character, like we all understand his struggles a lot better now, maybe, or at least I do. I feel like I do. Like, you know, he's still struggling with trying to live trying to be the person he was before he became the Winter Soldier. So he's still, you know, and then the whole thing of him and Sam, like they didn't start out on the best of terms. You know, they don't have this natural chemistry to be these buddies or whatever, but yet they work together and they kind of grow closer together through this whole series. I like that, the way
they make a good team. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, it was just this show that just let you know you don't want to mess with the Dora Milaje.
Yeah.
You really don't. I don't care what kind of vibranium arm, shield, or anything. You don't mess with them ladies.
Right. I think this whole series is exactly what I want to see in an MCU like TV show or movie. I like the previous MCU films, but they never got into these kind of social issues. And maybe they couldn't because maybe like you were saying, Laurie, they don't have enough time to explore all that stuff.
There's a lot to explore,
Yeah.
That's what I like about TV is you have a lot of more time to explore a lot of things like this. I do want to mention throughout the series, there was a female director, and I should have looked up her name. So it's kind of nice. Like you said, you're talking about social justice issues and how to remedy that. They just quietly had a black writer and a female director handling this series, and it was just nobody really brought it up or accepted it. It's like they just got to do their work from their perspective, and that was cool, actually.
Right.
The less we have to like, oh my God, isn't this amazing? It's like, oh yeah, cool. They're amazing. They did a great job.
Right.
No matter what their background, their color, their national origin,
there wasn't any promotional campaign to say, oh, look how advanced we are by hiring these people. It's like, oh. Yeah. Here's your show. We're not gonna mess with you. Do the show you want to do about the issues you want to do.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it was a really, really good show to watch, and it got better. The further it went in, the better it got, and I just love the series.
Yeah. So anybody else with final words? Definitely recommend Falcon and Winter Soldier. Check it out on Disney Plus. Leave comments. We always like to hear from people when they do leave comments. Occasionally do. So anybody else?
I'm good. I think we out.
Yeah, we out on a Friday night. Check it out. Falcon and Winter Soldier. Captain America and Winter Soldier. And
your camera's blurring, Peter.
He's blurring. It's
fight on.
Fight on, guy. Fight on.